Hello, guys, and welcome back to Imperfectly Perfect. Perla here. So, I have just noticed, to be completely honest with you, that I have not posted since like the end of November or so, around there. So this is going to be the last video when it comes to the transition of me being diagnosed. So 25 until now. I am 34. Whew. Anyways, just celebrated January 3rd. Anyways, guys. So by age 25, I was already diagnosed with PTSD due to, let's just say, a complicated marriage, right? And no one was really at fault. We both did things that we could have done differently, but it did cause other symptoms, right? So at this point, I was going back and forth with the doctors and trying to figure out, we were trying different medications and things like that, and I just didn't seem to get any better. When I was 20, I remember from like 25, 26, all the way till I was diagnosed, honestly. I remember waking up and just feeling exhausted, right? I remember I used to have a Fitbit watch and I would monitor my sleep and I'm like, this shit doesn't work. It's telling me I'm sleeping when I'm not sleeping and all of these things. And I would be up to like, I would wake up at like 2 in the morning and I wouldn't go back to sleep and had to go to work, get the kids ready, school, after school stuff, cooking and all of this stuff. And it just became a lot. And I remember walking into work in the morning, right? And everybody was just looking at me. They're like, oh, how are you? And I remember the first word would be like out of my mouth was like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And people used to be like, oh, well, it's understandable. You're a single mom. You have 4 kids. You work full time. You're trying to go to school. You're doing all these things. And I'm just like, yeah, but this is like a beyond exhaustion, where it was just like I couldn't catch a break, right? So the year before, was it the year before? So I was diagnosed when I was 29. So that year when I was 29, I was looking at the numbers. I was trying to crunch up the numbers for summer programs for the kids, and my parents weren't able to come to Connecticut to stay and watch them how they normally would. And sending them over was not an option again because of joint custody. So I decided that year that I was going to take the summer off from work. So I decided to take Monday through Thursdays off, and I had, I believe they went with their father on Friday mornings, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember telling myself, well, you're going to have the summer off. You're going to be fine. You're going to figure out, you're going to get the rest. You're going to recharge the batteries. You're going to be fine. And things just went downhill from there. I was having a lot of blackouts. I was waking up in places without knowing it. I wasn't doing anything. That's when I started burning food, like on the stove. I just declined a lot. And I was getting enough rest. I was getting enough sleep. The kids were still young, but they were old enough that if I needed to take a nap, it was possible, right? And so I had prepared myself because I had thought about it. I think it was like in April or something that I made the decision that I was going to take the summer off. Spoke to my supervisor, started with putting money aside, right, to get me through June, July, and August. And I'm sorry, one of the dogs is trying to get out of one of the rooms. And, so I saved up enough money to get me through, let's say, end of September, right? Because I was going to go back to work in September. Kids go back to school at the end of August and things like that. And again, when it was getting closer and closer to go back to work, I couldn't grasp it. I started having a lot of stress headache. It was stem from the back of my head and take off my entire head. And I just couldn't focus. I couldn't think straight. We did a lot of fast food, let's put it this way. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of things that I did at home. Also, I prepped a lot, always still do. But it was a very dark time, let's put it this way, in my life, where, to be honest with you, I wanted it to end, right? And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that when you want things to end, it's not because you feel less than or anything like that. It's just a burden, right? You feel like a burden to others. You feel like you just can't keep moving forward, right? Because you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing and nothing is happening. At this point, my doctor and I had a conversation, and I want to say it was sometime in September, and I just showed up at her office because I couldn't handle the pain. I was sitting down in the waiting room. I was just crying, and I'm like, "Can you just please give me something for this fucking pain?" Because it was like it was incredible. And she sat with me and she was like, "Well, let's look at all your paperwork and let's see who else I can refer you to." So she decides that based on my labs, based on my vitals, based on everything, the what I looked like on paper didn't match what I looked like in person, right? I was overweight, and it just didn't match with the workouts, with everything that I do, with how I eat and things like that. Things just weren't matching. So she looks at me, she's like, "Well, I think you might have sleep apnea. Maybe you're not sleeping because you're not breathing at night." And I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense." All right. So we schedule an appointment, and the sleep specialist can't see me till October, mid-October. So I called my job. Actually, I went to my job and I told my supervisor, I was like, "Look, I really want to know what the heck is going on with me. I don't want to come back to work feeling like this because I can't function." So she was like, "You know what, just go see him, see what he says, and then we'll take it from there." So I went to see him. We're sitting there and I'm talking to him. And, like me, like always, I'm always interviewing my doctors. This has been something even before narcolepsy. And I'm telling him this and I'm telling him that and I'm telling him my stories. And he's just sitting there and he's just looking at me. And he's like, "You know what, we could test for sleep apnea, but have you ever heard of narcolepsy?" And I looked at him and I was like, "Well, isn't that when people normally fall asleep, like suddenly, right?" And he looks at me, he was like, "Well, talk to me about your childhood." So I started talking to him about my childhood, about, my sleep patterns. That's what he wanted to know, right? And he looks at me and he sits down like right in front of me. And I remember I had to take the kids with me that day to that appointment because my babysitter fell through and they couldn't watch the kids. So I have 4 kids in this room with this doctor. And he looks at me. He's like, "Well, I think this is what you have." And I looked at him. I was like, "You're crazy. I don't sleep. Like, I can't have narcolepsy." And, it was very, very ignorant of me at the time, of course, because you automatically assume that narcolepsy is just oversleeping, right? So he tells me, "Well, I'm going to schedule you for the test and I'll see you back after the test." So they called, they scheduled it. I think it was done the same week. No, it was done in a week. And because it was done on a Friday. And no, a Thursday. It was done on a Thursday to Friday. There you go. And I remember telling my parents that I was going to drop off the kids, so that the kids that week, I took the kids out of school and I sent them over to my parents' house. And I remember I got dressed. I was just like, "Yeah, I got this. Everything's going to be fine." And I remember during the test itself where the tech, you so you sleep the whole night. You have no cell phone or anything. You don't really have an alarm. You don't have anything, right? And in the morning when they came and they gave me breakfast and stuff, and then the tech comes in and he's like, "Well, I'm doing the day portion, and we're going to every 2 hours lay down. We'll give you, I believe it's 15 minutes to fall asleep and 20 minutes of actual sleeping. But you have no concept of time in itself, right?" So we started the test and it was like, he would come in after the 20 minutes were up or whatever. And he would ask me, "How do I feel? Did you sleep? What do you think you were doing?" Right? It was all about feeling, how you're feeling. And it's actually a very interesting test. It's actually pretty cool. So I remember I took 4 naps. Take 4? Yeah, I think it was 4. I'll actually look for my test results on one of these days and share it with you guys. And I remember two out of them, I felt like I didn't sleep at all. I felt that I was awake. I had my eyes closed, but I was thinking, over processing, overthinking, or whatever. So when I was leaving, when it was time for me to leave that evening, he asked, he was like, "How far do you live?" And I was like, "I'm actually like 5 exits away. I'm not that far, but I'm driving to Philadelphia to pick up my kids." And he looked at me, and I remember seeing this look in his face. And he was like, "Do you have somebody that can go with you and drive?" And I looked at him, and I was like, "You're not allowed to tell me anything, are you?" He's like, "No." And I was like, "Fuck," because I didn't have my results appointment till 2 weeks later. So I called up my cousin and I was like, "Yo, I gotta go to Philly to pick up the kids." And she was actually going to go that weekend, so she decided to go with me that Friday. So we went. I did most of the driving, to be honest with you. When I got back that Monday, I got a call from the office, the doctor's office, and I was asked to come in. I was like, "Okay, but my appointment is not until." So I went in and I sat down, and I remember, I still cry. I remember he walked in and I just broke down and cried. Even before he said anything. Because I saw it in his face. And I was like, fuck. And I was just like, fuck. Like, seriously, like, how am I going to deal with this, right? So, right away he went and he was like, "These are the common meds. We're going to start trying this until we get this and that approved." So at least I had an answer, right? So we go ahead and we start medicine. And almost immediately I start having reactions. So I decided to go back to work anyways. um, my job was amazing, even though I worked, as a nurse. They were still amazing. So I wasn't put on the floor right away. I had other things to do, but they worked with me, right? And 3 months after being diagnosed, my doctor's supervisor, so the sleep specialist at the office, the clinic I went to, calls me after one of the reactions because my doctor was out, and he was like, "I really think that you should consider disability." So sure enough, when my doctor got back from vacation, he had me come into the office and told me that he wanted me to go on disability. I cursed him out and I was like, "You're crazy. I just turned 30. Like, hell no." And I walked out. I discharged myself from the office and immediately started looking for a replacement. So I went ahead and I found another doctor in Yale, and she was amazing. They were able to see me right away. So within like a week or two, I had a new doctor. My ex-husband drove me to the appointment, and I was there and I talked. And she is an amazing doctor. I no longer see her because she retired, but her replacement is amazing as well. So I remember her coming to me and she was like, "Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to check all your levels, things that are normally not checked, right, during physicals. And we're going to be very detailed about it. And I'm going to tell you exactly where I want those numbers to be. Like, vitamins, minerals, everything, right? And this is something we're going to check every 3 months to make sure we're keeping on top of it. And in the process of it, I'm going to give you a year. 1 year to find the correct combinations of medication so that you can stay at work." So during all of this, I tried a bunch of different meds. Some gave me psychotic, let's put it this way, psychotic symptoms. Within 24, 48 hours, I was going crazy. I was obsessed with wanting to find a cure. Let's put it this way. We started with regular medications used for narcolepsy. Then we try some antidepressants, antipsychotics. We try natural remedies. We try teas. We try herbs. We try oils. We try everything, right? She was open to trying anything but she knew, right? So when the year was up, I delayed my appointment by a month. I was still working, barely. I think I was on the schedule 2 days, and then sometimes I would work like 4 days, but I worked one full day. And then the other days were like half days, right? 4 hours here, 3 hours there. And again, they were amazing with me throughout the whole process. And I went to see her, and she was like, You're done." And I'm like, so she wrote me a letter for work. The plan was to take 3 months off of work originally, to kind of reset my body, to allow my body to like heal from other medications, all the reactions, right? Um, and my pockets too, because the amount of money I spent on medications was ridiculous. But anyways, guys, it got to the point where the 3 months went by. I called work again, and I let them know that I wasn't going to be able to come back. And if I thought I was in a dark place before, this is where it really got dark. I got super, 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 super depressed, right? I mean, you go to school, you become a nurse, you love what you're doing, you love going to work, you love your clients, you love everything about your job, right? You're passionate about it. And now all of a sudden you're home. And then Buster came into my life, one of my dogs. He was gifted to me by one of the medical assistants I worked with. So thank you, love, if you're watching this. But it was a year, very difficult year. Then I ended up, then after that, while I was home, I had to change my primary doctor because I moved. I had to make changes because of the financial situation, right? And then this weird thing started to happen where I couldn't breathe. I felt like somebody was crushing me, like my chest and everything. Everything hurt. My hair hurt. My my nails, everything was hurting. And they sent me to see a neurologist. They sent me to see a few doctors, and nobody could find anything. I would wake up with bite marks in my cheeks. I would wake up bleeding from my mouth, my tongue, everything. So they sent me to get tested to see if I was having seizures while I was sleeping. Unfortunately, they didn't catch anything during the test, but again, it just continued. And all I was told throughout the entire thing was to rest. As if I wasn't trying, let's put it this way. I would spend hours, days in bed, crying my ass off, and still not being able to get rest. And it took about a year, to be honest with you, for the pain to slowly stop and myself to be able to start functioning at some levels. There were days where I remember taking my bed off the bed frame and I had it on the floor, right? So that when I rolled my ass off my floor, like physically would throw myself on the floor, I wouldn't hurt myself as badly. And I had to do that for a while in order to get out of bed, to get the kids up and ready and all of that. And I mean, throughout all of this, we're still talking about one person, right? One parent, 4 kids, school, this, that. My parents did come for a while. They would come periodically for weeks, months at a time. My sister and her fiance were a huge help. My ex-husband would help whenever it was possible, whenever he wasn't dating. Let's just put it that way. But to be honest with you, without my parents and without my sister and my brother-in-law, it would have been very difficult. More difficult than what it was, because there were periods of time, not just days, like weeks, where I physically couldn't get out of bed, right? And I was physically hurting, physically in pain. And it was just, I mean, I'm grateful that I'm in completely different space now. I still never got answers when it came to why my body was going through all that pain and stuff like that. But I have noticed that through my diet change, like I became a vegan and stuff like that. I have psoriasis, so any animal products that I eat flares it up, which is an inflammation. And then there is psoriatic arthritis that comes from the psoriasis, which is probably where the pain itself is coming from, right? So with all of that, I just kind of, at this point, I don't fight my rest. I don't fight my sleep. It is still a challenge every single day, right? I tend to have these bursts, right, of energy where I can wake up one day, whether it's in the morning or in the middle of the night or whatever, and I have this burst of energy that will last 3 or 4 hours. So what I do is that I I focus all of that energy on like meal prepping, doing things that I know that need to be done, right? And I still get a lot of help from my sister and my parents when they come over, with, you know, there are times where even grocery shopping is a challenge, right? Because it's not just going to the grocery store and picking up a few stuff. I have to bring everything back. I have to put everything away. And that is extra time that I am physically actively doing something, maybe when I'm exhausted, right? So my sister usually goes grocery shopping on the weekend. So she'll usually call me or text me, hey, do you need something? To see if I'm up to date on everything or whatever. But it's definitely one of those things where there is no cure, right? There is no end game. Let's put it this way. It is something that I have to fight and battle every single day. And it is something that I fight and battle every single day. And it's just, it is what it is. I can sit here and complain about it. Or I can make the best of it, right? Because I have to be that example for my kids. I have to be that example for my children. The ones that have it and the ones that don't have it, right? And it is about not allowing it to keep me down or not allowing it to destroy me to the point where I'm giving up. So again, I'm very grateful because now I'm in a completely different space. The challenges are still there though. The waking up, the challenges when it comes to exercising, the challenges when it comes to going grocery shopping, when it comes to not picking up, waking up the kids. Picking up the kids when we have to exchange them, right? Because we meet halfway. That's the core order. It is what it is. But there's definitely a lot that goes into it. And, I know that I've been horrible when it comes to uploading on this channel. And I do feel that I was probably trying to do too much, right? Because I was trying to keep this channel my business channel, and then trying to do like a Spanish channel, and I'm not gonna be posting on the Spanish. Okay, now there goes my speech, right? My Spanish. I can't say Spanish. Espanol. There you go. Yeah, the narcolepsy sometimes affects your speech as well, but the Spanish. Now I want to say it, right? So for the meantime, anyway, let's put it this way, I'm going to just focus on this and my other channel. But I definitely am going to be making shorter, quicker videos. But I'm going to try to stay more consistent with posting at least once a week. The goal is to post on Wednesdays. We had a death in the family in December where my mother, well, both my parents had to leave the country to, go deal with that. And there was just a lot, going on, a lot that emotionally was draining to a certain point, and that does affect the physical aspect of life when you have narcolepsy. But I definitely wanted to go ahead and make this video for you guys because I said a while ago that I was going to make it, and I am sending every single one of you love, strength, and blessing, guys. And I do apologize for crying. Well, crying as much as I did, let's put it this way. Because again, and it's not, let's put it this way, I've made amends with not being able to work, right? But there's still part of me that, my career, I've been a nurse since 2008, was a huge part of me, right? It was a huge part of my day to day. It was a huge part of who I was. And that is not something that just goes away overnight. Now I just try to help people in different ways, right? But that's pretty much all that I wanted to say for this video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.